December 18, 1941. 2050 hours. Eastern Mediterranean, approaching Alexandria. The night air tastes of oil and salt. In the black, low-rolling swell, a dark submarine, Italian Regia Marina Syri, rides 60 feet below the surface, silent except for the faint interior creak of metal under pressure. In her forward compartment, 6 men sit strapped to what look like gigantic torpedoes with saddles, each 40 feet long, powered by slow electric motors. They are not torpedoes in the usual sense, but Siluria lenta corsa, slow-running man mines that sailors nickname maiali or pigs, because of how stubbornly they move in water. The men clinging to them are from Decima Flottiglia MAS, Italy's 10th assault vehicle flotilla, trained saboteurs who measure their lives in air minutes and luck. Leading the operation is Capitano di Corvetta Luigi Durand de la Penna, a 26-year-old naval officer whose calm belies the near-suicidal task ahead. Beside him rides his second, Sergeant Emilio Bianchi. Ahead, in another compartment, Lieutenant Antonio Marceglia and Petty Officer Spaccarelli. The third team is Lieutenant Francesco Mazzucci with diver Mario Marino. Their target, Alexandria Harbor, nerve center of the British Mediterranean Fleet and anchorage for HMS Queen Elizabeth, HMS Valiant, and tanker Sagona. At 21:15 hours, Commander Borghese, Syria's captain, leans over the periscope eyepiece. He spots the darker boundary where the harbor's boom nets meet tide. "We're there," he murmurs. Inside the airlock, the frogmen fit their Draeger oxygen rebreathers, valves hissing softly. Suits of black rubber cling to their skin. Each man runs a final check, the compass board glowing dim green, pressure gauge at the hip, timer for the magnetic charge strapped against the thigh. De la pena squeeze Bianchi sous des 11. Si vediamo all'alba, see you at dawn. It's half a joke, half a prayer. Bianchi's answering grin is hidden behind the mouthpiece. At 21:45 they flood the chamber. The ocean folds over them, cold enough to hammer breath from the lungs even through insulation. The maiali slide out nose first, propeller motors murmuring like distant bees. The submarine fades beneath them into the dark. Ahead lies the British anchorage, a maze of steel cables, nets, mooring pontoons and patrol craft that can crush the mission in seconds. Above, destroyer searchlights sweep white arcs through cloud. At 22:10, hugging the seabed 40 feet down, the first Mael bumps against the harbor's outer anti-submarine net. De la Penna blinks salt water from his eyes, checks their depth gauge. "We cut here," he signals with a tap on Bianchi's shoulder. For 20 minutes they work, sawing through steel mesh with a special clamp cutter while the tide pushes them sideways. Finally, space opens enough for a man and machine to slip through. They crawl forward like blind miners toward the sound of engines above, the faint hammer vibration of capital ships resting still in the gloom. At 23:30, inside the outer basin, De la Penna surfaces beside the shadow of a vast hull. It rises out of the black like a cliff, barnacled and towering. HMS Valiant, Admiral Cunningham's flagship. Through the faint phosphorescence, you can see her twin screws and rudder vanishing into darkness. The Italian officer checks his watch, then submerges again. Oxygen remaining, 35 minutes. Together with Bianchi, he maneuvers the Mael under the hull just abaft the bridge section, below the keel where water depth measures 12 meters. De la Penna unlocks the magnetic warhead, 300 kilograms of explosive fitted with a time fuse. Sweat mixes with salt inside his hood as he sets it with shaking fingers. He attaches the charge to the hull plating. When the timing lever clicks, he notes one last detail. Detonation set for 6 o'clock. Halfway to retreat, their Mael seizes, electric motor flooded. It jolts once then dies. In that stillness, De la Penna knows they cannot outswim the distance to Syri before dawn. He gestures to Bianchi, "Abandon the craft." They start swimming hand over hand along the anchor chain, surfacing quietly near a buoy. Overhead, faint voices from the deck, British seamen swapping watch duty. They drift for an hour before a torpedo boat's spotlight pins them. Soldiers haul the two shapes aboard, dripping in black rubber, burning with exhaustion. The prisoners say nothing but name and rank. At 1:30 hours, HMS Valiant's officer of the watch, Lieutenant Wade, reports to the ship's captain that Italian divers have been captured in the water. The captain shrugs. "Divers? At Alexandria? Nonsense. They were probably spies off some fishing launch." Under guard, De la Penna and Bianchi are brought aboard HMS Valiant herself, the ship their explosive now clings beneath. The coincidence sharpens like irony from a playwright. De la Penna stands on deck, pale under the interrogation lamp. "How many of you?" the British lieutenant demands. "What were you doing in the harbor?" "Swimming, De la Penna answers dryly. "It's a fine night for it." They lock him in a compartment deep in the destroyer's hold. The room is heavy with oil and echo. Bianchi is taken elsewhere. As the hours drip past, De la Penna sits against bulkhead steel that thrums faintly under his ear. He knows exactly what sound he's hearing. Machinery running above a live, ticking bomb. December 19, 1941. 3:30 hours. Alexandria Harbor. The world above is asleep by routine. The calm of a navy at anchor humming with generators, steady watch rotations, deck lights dulled for blackout. Below that surface, quiet metal waits, and inside HMS Valiant's brig, one man listens. Captain Charles Morgan, Valiant's commanding officer, leans over the cell bulkhead where their strange Italian prisoner sits cross-legged on the deck plates. "You'll talk now," Morgan says firmly. "Your mates have been caught too." Whatever game this is, it ends here. De la Pena looks up, eyes steady. It ends soon, Captain, he replies in accented English. But not in the way you think. Morgan frowns. Meaning what? There is an explosive under your hull, De la Pena says evenly. And others under your ships. You have very little time. I suggest you move your crew. The captain studies the thin, soaked man before him. He sees no panic, no bluff. Still, how could these two dripping swimmers threaten 30,000 tons of warship steel? Morgan signals the guard. Lock him in and send for divers. A petty officer taps his wristwatch. Sir, the harbor's quiet. No signs of charges. Morgan's mutter is meant for himself. We'll see soon enough. Underneath Valiant, 12 meters down, the magnetic clamps of De la Pena's charge hold fast, timers ticking toward 6 o'clock. Near the outer anchorage, Marceglia and Spaccarelli, having planted theirs beneath HMS Queen Elizabeth, are themselves captured clinging to a quay ladder, guns shoved in their faces gray from lack of air. The last team, Marino and Mizuchi, barely escaped detection after strapping their mine under the tanker Sagona, moored alongside the destroyer Jervis. By 4:15, the Italian prisoners sit under guard in separate compartments of the very fleet they came to destroy. The harbor surface is glass smooth. A British duty officer notes the strange quiet in his log. Harbor calm. No enemy activity suspected. The minutes slide forward. The first tremor makes coffee cups dance on Sagona's wardroom table. Mechanics pause. The deck beneath them stirs like something alive. Then it comes, a single deep concussion that shoves upward through 40 feet of water. A white tower of seawater and oil erupts beside Sagona. Jervis, moored breast to breast, buckles stern first. Flames tear into the night as fuel pours a flame across the harbor's calm skin. On board Valiant, the shock wave hits 30 seconds later. An upward heave that makes her hull groan as if wrenched by hand. Machinery officers shout from the depths. After compartments flooding. Lights flicker then steady. Morgan's voice drives through the ship. All hands, damage stations. Get the pumps running. He turns back toward the brig. Open that cell. The guards hesitate. Sir, he said. Open it, Morgan snaps. When the door swings wide, De la Pena steps out slowly. It's too late now, he says quietly. My shipmate's charge has gone off. Yours will follow soon. Morgan stares. Is there a fuse timer? There is. But you cannot reach it. The clock reads 5:58. Around them, the harbor shivers again. Queen Elizabeth's hull rises half an inch, driven upward by a colossal bubble of gas and fire beneath her engine room. Steel shrieks. Water geysers 30 feet outward. The battleship settles back, listing imperceptibly, her keel cracked, forward boilers flooded. Inside Valiant, the deck leaps once more. The second explosion sends a wall of spray over the forecastle. Engine compartments flood instantly, lower decks go dark. Morgan grips the rail outside the companionway, knuckles whitening. He barks to his XO, signal Queen Elizabeth, verify hull damage. The telegraph operator's reply is thin through static. Power out on their end. She's down by the bow, sir. By dawn, Alexandria harbor is a place of drifting smoke and disbelief. On one side, burned tanker oil smolders in lazy eddies. On the other, naval divers drop lines and descend into milky water, reappearing shaken. The reports are impossible but true. Both Valiant and Queen Elizabeth rest upright on the bottom, hulls torn open beneath the engine spaces. Their decks remain even with the quay. To the casual eye they still float. But inside, compartments are dead, filled with silt. On the surface, Admiral Sir Andrew Cunningham arrives by launch. He steps aboard with his staff, calmly walking the tilting decks as though nothing has happened. Journalists later remember the scene. Officers still performing flag salutes under billowing black smoke, signalsmen sending coded reports with their shoes wet above flooded iron. In dispatches that day, Cunningham writes, ships damaged by explosion of unknown origin. Cause under investigation. Hours later, word filters through from interrogation cells. The mystery divers, Italians, had told the truth. Their devices were found fused against the keels, their submarine having slipped away undetected. Within the week, both battleships are declared out of service. The Mediterranean balance wobbles overnight. Without their big guns to check the Regia Marina, British command in Cairo orders convoy routes altered, Malta's resupply paused. In Rome, news of the strike reaches Mussolini by telegram. Mission Alexandria achieved. Both enemy capital ships crippled at anchor. Decima MAS becomes legend. In a prison cell aboard a British hospital ship, Luigi Durand de la Pena learns quietly that his bomb worked. HMS Valiant still stands at her moorings, but rests on mud, not sea. He says nothing, only exhales once through cracked lips. The British will later commend his courage. Years hence, the same captain who questioned him in the dark will shake his hand in peacetime and call him warrior. But for now, inside Alexandria harbor, dawn burns off the last trace of night. Two giants rest unseen beneath the tide line, and above them the Union Jack still flies, fluttering over the illusion that they are still afloat.